You're listening to 90.1 FM WEFT Champaign, and I am your girl Renee Angela, bringing you another episode of Health and Soulful Being. That's right, we are being into the new year, and it's just amazing. It's almost been a year since I've been doing this show. So yes, you hear it live on 90.1 FM WEFT Champaign, and then you see it live and in living color on UPTV, Channel 6 for you Comcast users, Channel 99 for AT&T users, and if you don't have either one, never fear, because I have it up on my Renee Angela YouTube page, so you can go and see all the past episodes and the current episodes of Health and Soulful Being. Just click on the playlist and you'll be ready to go. I am here on location on Mill Street, Bowie Chiropractic, with Dr. Bowie here, Dr. Kevin Bowie, and we are going to talk about chiropractic care and all of the healing, and I can tell you right now, for my own personal self, I just had a wonderful adjustment from Dr. Bowie here. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. And on this cold morning, cold and freezing rain that will change into snow. So, we'll all be careful today in the first day of freezing rain. And
Right.
well, you know what? I don't know, because when I came back from California, I came back to snow. So I left and there was no snow, and I came back and it was snow. So I don't know if this is the first snow or winter day we've had since.
Sure, I would have to say that I think it's getting excitement in the air for my children as they are getting excited for the holidays.
That's
so,
right.
As long as they're happy.
Yes, and that is
great.
the wonderful thing about the holidays, and we're going to keep you healthy during our holidays. So we're going to jump right into things.
Okay.
Dr. Bowie, give us a little background on yourself and how you came into deciding to be a chiropractor, and just give us background on your training and.
Sure. Well, growing up in Southern Illinois, from
Okay.
Centralia, my mother used to go to the chiropractor quite often. My dad would go every once in a while, and I remember being a little kid playing around on the floor, and while my mother was going through and having her treatments.
Okay.
So I did have some exposure with chiropractic being younger, and growing up, going through high school, I thought I was wanting to go into accounting. I had more of a mathematic kind of a mindset, and then I started taking some local community college courses. I went to KC, Kaskaskia, down south, and realized just the accounting spectrum just didn't seem to work for me for some reason. I was doing personal training at the time.
Oh, okay.
Loved it. Loved physical health, helping people out. I just loved to see the gains that people were getting at the local gym. It was awesome.
All right.
And a local chiropractor came in, and I just was fascinated, wanted to learn more, and went to his office, and just had more exposure there. Got treated myself, and just learned that's what I wanted to do.
All right.
And so I checked with the local college, and they had the courses that I needed there to get into Logan Chiropractic College.
Okay.
That's where I chose, which is about 5 minutes west of St. Louis in
Okay.
Chesterfield. And that's where I decided to go.
All right.
For chiropractic college.
Okay, so when you were in personal training and going through that kind of program or whatever, was it much more classes that you had to take to merge into that chiropractic program, or were there a lot of similar classes between the personal training courses that you were taking and the chiropractic courses?
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, at the time,
schooling.
Then 15 years ago, there really wasn't many courses for personal training.
Okay.
There were basically weekend things you could take to learn to be a personal trainer, or just learn from somebody above you.
Oh wow!
It was way different ball game than it is now. Way different. right then, I was just learning about occupational medicine.
Okay.
Physical therapy was just kind of getting started.
Mhm.
A lot of people are getting into the grassroots of physical therapy. Occupational medicine was just getting developed.
Oh, wow.
Personal training was just something you learned from somebody else who knew that.
Okay.
Kind of like how massage therapy was growing
Right,
up,
yes, and now they
like
have
Reiki
whole
and,
programs and certifications. And,
right, and even like yoga. Yoga is still kind of at its ground.
right.
At grassroots in some ways. And so personal training back then, and it's really come a long way. I've learned so much from trainers that are out there now. It's amazing.
So how does it feel to be part of this grassroots revolution, alternative medicine?
With that, I think it's coming full circle, and that's something I want to get into also with the history. I believe it's coming right around. And so with Logan, Chiropractic College, so I did about 3 years at community college, picked up some courses, went into Logan, and Logan we had roughly 3 1/3 years of school, but it was a trimester system, so it was about a 5-year program.
Oh, wow.
And so we had anywhere from 28 semester credit hours to 34 at any given time.
Oh, goodness. That sounds like a lot of credits.
It was quite a bit. So it was busy, very busy. And then we had clubs that we can join on top of that, and then we had other avenues. Well, chiropractic it's an art, it's a science, and it's a philosophy. So we get a lot of the science, we get a lot of the philosophy at school, but the art is something you develop on your own.
Okay.
And so that's a big reason why so many chiropractors do things unique in many ways, because we all have our own artistic abilities.
Oh, right.
And so that's where our development, our skills come along. And so I learned that from the beginning. And me with my mathematical mind, I wanted everything to be this way.
Lined up.
And so I couldn't figure out why everybody was so different. So I actually took a yellow legal pad and called up chiropractors, and I shadowed offices. And and I did that from the very beginning of school when I got into Logan.
So you were starting to create your own system from of these different avenues.
Right, and I'd go to these offices and wonder, why are they all different? Well, they all had the basis scientific foundation, and they all had the basic philosophies and principles, but the art was so different, unique. And I started to pick that up, so I was writing it down, going to different offices, and that's where I came across the applied kinesiology. Added in with the chiropractic. I was just blown away. I was fascinated. And so that's where I learned that, and I don't mean to ramble on here. I know we got questions,
but that's all right.
So
I'm enjoying this. I really am.
Okay. So I'd like to say, from that point, I asked that chiropractor, well, what do I do to learn more about this applied kinesiology? I'm in with the chiropractic. I've learned the personal training. And where can I go from here? And he talked to me and told me to learn more about the ICAK, or the International College of Applied Kinesiology.
Okay.
And those were some courses that I could take on the weekends, added into my chiropractic.
Yes.
So, all right, I did that.
Added into the 30 hours that he's already taking.
Right. So we did that, plus clubs, plus other labs and things that we had to do. It was just busy. Well, then I also learned to learn more about the functional neurology. There were functional neurology courses that you could take on other weekends that were part of what they call the postgraduate department.
Okay.
So the postgraduate department would have classes where physicians would come in to get hours that they had to meet the requirements for keeping their licensure every year.
Okay.
So I could work for that postgraduate department. And then I got the education basically for free.
Wow.
I could not accept credits since I was a student, but I got the information, which was wonderful. So we had a choice of either getting paid or getting the information, and I wanted to get the information because I wanted to learn what these other chiropractors were learning.
Right.
And so I got to mix the neurology with the applied kinesiology, and then I had the chiropractic to go along with it. It's wonderful, wonderful triad. So I was happy to learn all that.
And that's where we end up here in this space.
Right.
And I don't mean like physical space, just a physical space. I mean in the all-encompassing space, the universal space, in a sense of where all of these different modalities that you have, that you are utilizing to create.
And that's something else I wanted to go over too,
Yes.
as well is those just
Definitely.
all being different tools that we use in order to get to the windows of a person's nerve system to help them.
Yes.
That was a big terminology that I had learned in neurology course, is that we're not specifically looking for that one diagnostic encounter. We're looking for all the different windows to get into a person's health system,
Yes.
and trying to put that together in order to help them the best that we can.
All right, that sounds like a great philosophy.
Way to put it together.
Yes. So why don't we get into the whole background of chiropractic care and the history and like you said, all of this grassroots and coming in full circle with all these different modalities. So I'm going to let you go.
Just go with this?
Yes,
all right, this is fun.
That's right.
Okay.
This is the fun part. So you get to learn now, people.
This is
all
good.
of you out there, like my dad, who is like, what is chiropractic care? And I don't really trust it too much. that kind of thing. So now we get the information.
Okay, sure. Well, in the mid 1800s to late 1800s, the United States was going through the Civil War at that time, and the Civil War was ending, and the United States was becoming the land of opportunity. And that's when it really was starting to be called.
That's right. The pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, and it was going into the second industrial revolution. They were beginning to start to grow, and so. There were families, even from Canada, moving down, trying to establish, and that was exactly where this family, the Palmer family, was from. There's actually two brothers that came down from Canada, and they're coming through New York, and kind of came across and ended up in Iowa somehow. But he was pretty much an entrepreneur. He was a teacher. I cannot remember what exactly kind of teacher he was. Had a grocery store.
Oh, wow.
Learned about being a magnet therapist. And
now, what's a magnet therapist?
Sure. So magnet therapy, he was using magnets in order to somehow establish the body's ability to heal.
Oh, wow.
And that's something you do see today.
Yes.
To a certain degree. And
so connecting with the energetic centers or energetic pathways within your body using magnets.
Using magnets.
That is cool.
Whether it's
and this was in the 1800s?
This was late 1800s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he actually had one of the biggest practices, seeing 80 to 90 people a week.
Oh wow.
In Davenport, Iowa. Had a huge office with I believe it had like 24 rooms. And he had the biggest sign in town, the gold sign they call it. And, this was Daniel David Palmer, D.D. Palmer. And so he had a lot, he had learned from somebody. And at that time, again, there wasn't any specific licensures or anything. And he, also at this time, there was just so many questions that people were trying to find something. They were really, they were getting through that whole Civil War. They wanted to learn, what's going to establish my health? What can I use? And so at that time, there was potion healers, there was hypnotists, there were
shamans.
Exactly. Yes. There were magnet therapy was getting to be big, so everybody's trying to figure where is the standpoint, and so there were a lot of people opening up different things. There was no AMA at that point. There was nothing established.
Right.
There was no real journals. There were some things in Europe. There were journals in Europe and some pictures and things that people were getting over here so that they could try to help look at the human body and see what the anatomy was at that point.
Okay.
And that's actually what D.D. Palmer was doing. And so he had practiced about 9 years, and this was about 9 years after osteopathy had kind of started in some ways. So that's a whole other ball game.
Yes.
I don't want to get into that. So anyways, he there was a janitor at that facility that he was working at, and he was having some severe hearing problems, and so the D.D. Palmer palpated along his back and found something in his upper thoracic or his upper back.
Okay.
and a severe bump or misalignment, and he brought him into the room. He said, well, let's, as far as I know, he said, well, let's see if we can get some mobility here. And he did the first, what we term today, the first chiropractic adjustment, and that was on September 18th of 1895.
Oh,
so this
wow.
was the late 1800s.
Oh, gosh.
So with that first adjustment, this person had his hearing restored, and that was awesome. That was great.
Yeah.
So that started chiropractic. Now, from what I understand, there were people from all across the nation with hearing issues that showed up in Davenport, knocking on his door saying, hey, I hear we can get our hearing restored. And so these people were lined up, and just a very small percentage were actually getting their hearing back from adjusting this specific segment. So chiropractic was almost lost. But these people were still showing up wanting to get adjusted. So Dee Dee's like, well, I thought I was supposed to stay with magnet therapy. What's with all these people wanting adjustments? Well, we started to find out that people were having more energy. They were having strength come back. They were losing pain. They were feeling better. They were getting their nerve vitality back. So he's like journaling it down. And he's going, wow, we're really onto something here. And so that's when the establishment of learning what's called a subluxation came out.
Okay.
And that's a misalignment that puts pressure on a nerve that reduces nerve vitality, all tissues in our body.
Yes.
And by doing that, it reduces our function. And by reducing our function, of course, disease will be enabled and starts that process. So these people were coming in, and other people from the community, and just word got out, and just grew from there.
Wow. So, oh my gosh. At any time in the last 100 years, from Dee Dee Palmer and the basically the movement that he established, not intentionally at first, at any time during this last 100-year cycle, did chiropractor kind of lose its edge, and then had to return? Sometimes everything kind of has. You took accounting. You know the little marketing product line where it kind of goes up and then it hits a peak and a plateau and then it kind of goes down. Did chiropractic care
ever have those problems?
Yeah.
Yes.
And product life cycle, we call it in marketing.
Right. Well, there's been battles all along the way with osteopathy and AMA, and the last state to actually have true licensure for chiropractic was Louisiana in 1974.
Okay.
And
that was when I was born.
Right.
So 40 years ago.
Right. So so all along that time, there have been chiropractors have been thrown in jail, and I actually have a picture in one of my books of a chiropractor adjusting other cellmates.
Wow.
So we're talking about really believing in what you do.
And what you do, yes.
Right. And,
but I guess you have to have that kind of conviction if you're going to go to jail over it. You better believe in whatever it is that you're, like journalists, or, they've got to believe that I am not going to reveal my source, and have that conviction in order to continue.
And so I think there's, and even yet today, there's still, issues with boundaries and what to cross and who's supposed to be doing what in healthcare, and I truly do believe that as long as chiropractic holds firm to the science, art, and philosophy of the subluxation, and hold true to that and stick with that, that's what's going to carry them. That's what's carried them all ever since. That's what's going to keep them going strong.
Absolutely. What are some of the philosophies of chiropractic?
Well, the primary one is that the body heals itself. Each person has an innate intelligence or the ability to heal itself. And their medications, I don't want to say that. Right.
Because we're not saying anything that, and I've had this happen myself, where I've had to kind of do a little disclaimer. And so it's there is a space for Western medicines, as well as the alternative healings. And for myself, and I can say this personally for myself, I've found the tremendous benefits in the all-encompassing. So between the Western medicine and the Eastern philosophies or the alternative healing, using those together has created a greater strength and health for my body as a prior cancer patient. So,
Okay.
so I can say that from my own experience. And I actually didn't believe that for a long time. I wasn't and still I'm not very big on pill popping. But having gone through cancer, and there are certain things that you have to take, like the chemotherapy, drugs.
Yeah.
I finally understood the relation of bringing that connection together between the alternative medicine, alternative healings, as well as the Western medicines. So
Makes absolute sense.
Yes.
Yes, I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So that's.
And that was one of the questions that I was asked.
Yes.
Was the difference between physical therapy
Right.
and chiropractic and the benefits.
Yes.
And that was kind of crossed there with that question was, I just wanted to say I didn't want to be too certain how to answer that, as well as like what's the difference between chiropractic and other types of healthcare.
Yeah.
The best way I can answer that is I didn't go to school to learn those avenues, so maybe that would be a great show to have a debate with those.
That would be.
So that's an idea.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yes, we've got that. All right, so are you going to join the panel?
Let's go for it.
All right,
Right.
sounds great. We're going to put that in the new year. In 2014, we're going
let's
to
have
put
a
that out.
debate,
Yeah,
right?
let's have a debate.
But for right now, for my physical therapy friends, medical friends, magnet healing friends out there, I believe in all of them, and I just know wholeheartedly that with chiropractic, it's been a great benefit as well in doing this over the last 10 to 12 years.
Yes.
Again, there's that whole science, art, and philosophy, and now getting back to the science part, however they all want to tackle this or learn in school is up to them. But when we get back to the science is pretty much it's textbook, and that's that whole mathematical thing I was telling you about before. But there's pretty much 3 phases of care. You have your first phase, which may last 3 to 6 weeks, maybe a couple weeks. And what we're trying to do is reduce inflammation depending on a person's problem and condition.
Okay.
And chiropractors do that by restoring motion through an adjustment or some other modalities we may use.
Yeah.
We want to reduce inflammation as well as regain mobility between the joints. And with that, we are hoping to reestablish strength and allow smaller tissues to slowly get their strength back.
Okay.
Then that's pretty much what we call like passive care, meaning I do the work. You go home, relax, use some ice and eat, watch a little TV,
drink lots of water.
Drink lots of water. Here you go. Right.
That's right.
Let me do all the work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your only work is picking up that water bottle.
There you go. That's what I want to see. All right. Because there's not a true way to really speed up healing. We can help it along, but again, the body heals itself, and no matter what, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks, as far as we know, textbook wise, to get that health back, to get that healing back. Then after that point, we want to go into more of a rehabilitation care. So once we notice that we've got some movement back, we got the spine back in alignment, we've gone through kind of an achy phase, meaning that those smaller stabilizer muscles are slowly getting their strength back. The large muscles are calming down because they're not trying to guard so much. We reduce some inflammation, we got their pain level down. Then we feel, okay, now's about a confident time to get into what we call rehab care. And rehabilitation care is, I'm still doing all the work, okay? So there's still some passive there. But we want to slowly implement active care, which is we're going to start asking to do a few exercises.
Okay.
So we're going to start to go over that. And we just want to keep it simple. Because as much as those small muscles are starting to work and get their stability back, we don't want to do too much because there's still fatigue involved.
Okay.
And so we want to slowly get the strength and reestablish neural pathways, get their strength back. And so that could last. Everybody's different, unique.
Right.
It depends on their history as well as their present condition. Could be 3 months, could be a year. It just depends. And all along, I don't really have to see somebody as often, but I'm just there to be more of a coach and remind them to keep up with those exercises.
Yeah.
And we'll get there. I've been there myself. I've had a shoulder injury, a back injury myself. I know what it's like. And so just there to coach them on, encourage them. And then we go into what's called more of an active, more active, slight passive kind of care where we can do more of a wellness or maintenance care. So depending on the severity of their injury, if they are going to have some sort of ligament weakness over time, that may be something we need to continue to see a person for periodically. Everybody is unique to them. And that's just to keep the joints in alignment, reduce those restrictions from occurring in the future and allowing any nerve interference to occur.
Okay.
And of course, however long someone benefits, it's always up to them.
Right.
We're not here to apply pressure. We're just here to create a knowledge base, information base. I went to a seminar one time, and a coach there said that he was explaining this to us, and he said, "Here's a way you can kind of explain it to patients." I said, "Okay." He said, when after conception, you have 9 to 10 months to get a healthy baby here.
Right.
You're going to have 3 trimesters to do this, and during that time, there's really no way to speed it up.
No, it's not. Unless that baby decides it wants to speed it up.
There you go.
That's where you get to premature.
Now you can do whatever you can in that 9 to 10 months to have the healthiest baby there that you possibly can.
Right.
So that it's very healthy when it's here. But you can't really speed it up.
No.
It's just, and so your health, I mean, not that it's the same thing, but we're trying to use that as
probably less pain.
There we go. Right. So
especially without the drugs.
There we go. All right. Okay. I can't fight with my wife on that one. Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So yeah, and
so that's kind of the triad of health.
Yeah.
In a sense, the 3 stages.
Well, and let me get So okay.
Because I figured that's a nice segue.
Okay.
Going to the triad.
Right. We're going to triad of health. Okay.
We're talking about trimesters.
And I'm glad you're here so we can explain all.